I wanted to take a look at my local news station's post on Facebook because they always love to stir the pot and get the community around here espousing all their opinions, like this right here. Opinion: teachers be armed in schools. A lawmaker in Pennsylvania is working on a bill that would allow teachers to be armed at work with a valid state concealed carry permit. Obviously, most people around here are going to be like, yes, absolutely, we need that. All teachers need to protect our children because yada, yada, yada. It has nothing to do with a gun problem. Yep. Them or the principal, someone that can get to the shooter before cops get there. Here's an example. Biden signs new shipping law he says can cut consumer cost. The president also stressed that a concentration of corporate shipping power in the hands of just 9 large and foreign-owned companies has fed higher shipping costs in ways that hurt businesses and exacerbate problems with inflation. Considering that he caused the inflation, officials in Kansas say at least 2,000 cattle deaths have recently occurred in the southwestern part of the state due to high temperatures and humidity in the region. Humidity kills thousands of cattle in the United States, reporter says. Not believing this for one bit. If this was the case, then the owners need to be held accountable for not having proper care for the cattle. Sanctuary from this heat is needed for all creatures. If you really believe it was heat related, decrease the cattle, then you are all still asleep under a rock. Better get comfortable being uncomfortable, folks. It's only just started. Don't forget all the chickens lost in the fire a few weeks back, contributing to 3 million a day eggs lost. Wake up! This is all game to the 1%. The people have this conspiracy that the government is creating a food shortage to keep the American people under the thumb of their power. It seems like everyone here in my local community have decided that it's a lot easier to believe these far-fetching, crazy conspiracies are going on underneath our nose rather than just believing something as transparently obvious as heat and humidity is clearly killing all the cattle at these farms. Because, I don't know, every summer is getting hotter and hotter, and there is such a thing as climate change. They're killing them on purpose. It's said that they're doing this to rid the meat population just so we can eat their crap they're pushing on us. This dude thinks that the government wants everyone to be vegetarian. He thinks the government wants to turn all these hulking brave men that eat all this red meat into a bunch of dependent soy boy liberals. Sounds like the government to me can't tell me that for years it's been hot and they had no problems, and now all of a sudden they're dying because it's hot. I call baloney. Blame the government if you want to. If you read the Bible, you'd understand. Yes, it's all about the Bible. Let's not forget that. We always need to tie it back to God. God's killing all the cattle because 2 men like to kiss each other. God's killing all the cattle because we've decided to give everyone bodily autonomy and decide what it is they want to do with their own body, and not tell women that they need to carry to term a birth that they're not ready to have or can't even afford. Sad that they kill animals to make people suffer. God's going to get you, people. Am I missing something? I didn't get that memo that the government was going around creating a food shortage. They are, in the sense that we've let capitalism run amok, that corporations have become so overwhelmingly greedy and powerful, they can literally run the gambit of baby formula. Abbott being one of the largest producers of baby formula, making a multitude of different types of brands. Similac being one of the largest, which got recalled whenever the factory in Michigan got shut down because it was literally killing babies. It created such a detrimental baby formula shortage because they had such a giant market share of that space. Again, thanks to corporate greed and capitalism. The same company makes the same formula abroad, but to a higher standard. And I'll say that again. The same company is producing the same formula, but to a higher standard over in Europe. Of course, this is old news. They finally got around to it. May 13th, 2020, Reuters reported Abbott says it shipped millions of cans of infant formula from Ireland. Abbott Laboratories said it had shipped millions of cans of infant formula powder to the United States from its facility in Ireland to address the shortage that they themselves essentially had caused whenever the Michigan plant shut down. The reason why I got on the baby formula shortage thing and was talking about the Facebook post on my local news station was because whenever the baby formula first started, all these local conservative Republican thinkers all pointed the finger to Joe Biden. It was all Brandon's fault. It's always Brandon's fault. Whatever's going on, bad news, they always point to the president as if he really has anything to fucking do with it. Same thing would happen if it was under Trump. It doesn't matter who's the presidency. every single one of those guys are fucking useless. I don't like Joe Biden, don't like Trump, but because it's not their president that they wanted, it's easy to point the finger instead of saying, oh, there's something else going on here. Could it be because of corporate greed? Could it be because we have this system, this capitalist system that sets these corporations up to attain such a degree of power and wealth that they can almost monopolize a market? And so whenever one of those 4 main companies shut down, it causes such a detrimental shortage. Everyone starts scouring to buy Enfamil off of the counter, and then there's nothing left there for anybody else to get. And so, rightfully so, moms and families are upset, irritated, and scared that they can't get the formula. My family is in the same boat. They're looking to someone to blame, and they blame the wrong people. They blame people that didn't even necessarily cause the issue in the first place. We're the whole reason that even happened, because we let people get voted into power that allow these types of scenarios to even occur. On June 15th, President Joe Biden has given a speech during Pride Month celebration at the White House. Let's not speak on gas prices and shortage of baby milk, but let's speak at gay pride. Come on, Joe. Well, he did both. He spoke on the gas prices and the shortage of baby formula. I don't see how Americans can't think that we as individuals can't multitask. We can be worried about the gas prices. We can be worried about baby formula shortages. And we can also stand up for gay rights, transgender rights. We can do all these things. We don't have to just say, I can't speak at the gay pride event because I need to say more about gas prices. A lot of that stuff is almost out of his control, essentially. What's interesting here, though, in Louisiana is that our governor, John Bel Edwards, is actually a Democrat. It's very strange to think about Louisiana electing a Democrat. When it comes to pay, Louisiana has long been left behind. Our $7.25 minimum wage from 13 years ago and our gender wage gap are simply unacceptable. A number of bills addressing these wage issues are being heard today. Get them to my desk and I'll proudly sign them. Increasing the minimum wage sounds good to those that don't understand common economics. If businesses have to increase wages, there will be less jobs because of the cost associated with having a business, which means those that stay in business will increase their prices, which means those getting minimum wage will be affected even more. Less jobs and more expenses. For governor not to understand common economics is crazy. Someone up here says, if a business can't pay a living wage, it's a failing business. Minimum wage increase is just going to hurt the working and low income class in the long run. Obviously, you don't understand economics or business. With inflation at an already alarming all-time high, an increase will further inflate the cost of goods and services on top of companies doing things like eliminating their human workforce and or cutting hours to save on things elsewhere, such as healthcare cost, all the while passing the extra pay cost burden to the consumer. I have an idea, and it was one that somebody had led the charge on a few years back, whenever they were running for president. Andrew Yang, whenever he had talked about universal basic income. And a lot of people laughed at that idea because they thought that was outlandish, that anybody could just be getting X amount of dollars a month, whatever amount we decide on whenever, if universal basic income was passed. A lot of people are too concerned about what other people do. They shouldn't be getting that amount of money a month because I work harder than them. Everyone's so worried about what the fuck other people are doing instead of just worrying about themselves. Everyone's worried about businesses can't pay a higher wage than $7.25. It don't even have to be like $15. I don't even think in his post he said $15. He was just saying the minimum wage here in our state has been $7.25 for 13 years. People are up in arms about even thinking about being paid more than that amount. There's a lot of entry-level jobs, like whenever I first got started working and I was still living with my parents, my first job was at a grocery store bagging groceries and taking them out for people. And I got paid $7.25 an hour for that, which I guess is all fine and well for my scenario because I was still living with my parents and $7.25 was enough just to kind of get me started. But then it comes to a point where you really need to understand that people need to be getting paid more than $7.25 an hour if they're not living with their parents and they're trying to go get a better education. Not everybody's able to just go out to the workforce and then immediately go into an entry-level job that's going to pay them $7.25 and that be accommodating enough for their living scenario. We need to, if we're not going to increase the minimum wage, we need to work within the confines we have already in place and figure out why the fuck everything else is so fucking expensive. Because what's happening right now, even in inflation, is as inflation is increasing, corporations are making record high profits. We're crying in these comments saying that businesses can't afford to pay more of a living wage, more than the minimum wage. Like I said, he didn't even say $15 an hour. We're crying that businesses can't afford to pay more than the minimum wage, but they're raking in record high profits. I think what we need to look at is, what are these businesses spending their money on? It's people that own the businesses living this fucking fat, luxurious lifestyle, while people that are making $7.25 an hour are beating a fucking are driving an old beat up fucking car just to get to the job so that they can afford to even make rent. Because a lot of people are out here fucking helping their mom and dad pay for rent, which is at an all-time high. Because a lot of youth out here is actually having to help their parents pay the bills around there. And if they actually have gotten out on their own, they are in such a crippling position that they probably need to move back in with their parents so that they can even get back out to better themselves. Again, it all comes back around to, what's the option? Everyone shits themselves whenever we talk about raising the minimum wage, but no one's actually thinking about what we could do to help working class people get into a better position, rather than fucking bootlicking all these huge businesses that could care less about how much they're paying their employee. It's proven time and time again that the better you take care of your workforce, your employees, the better your company will perform as a whole. You pay your people more, you get more productivity out of them. You pay a minimum, they're going to do the bare minimum. Nobody's going to put in more effort for a job that doesn't give a fuck about them. And we're not talking about people like me who live with their parents and their first job was a fucking bag boy. We're talking about people who are actually out on their own, and they don't have the luxury of getting to choose where exactly they fucking settle down at. I think this is where UBI comes into play. It could really help eliminate some of these debates, where if everybody had a monthly starting point, everybody would be a little better than where they were before UBI, and they're able to make better decisions for themselves. They're able to get out of scenarios that they found themselves stuck in for so long. And ultimately, yeah, maybe businesses could stay at that minimum wage if they wanted to, but then people have the autonomy to choose where they go work. They don't have to report to that job because they're a slave to that job. It's the only thing around them. They have the ability to take that monthly income that they saved up to relocate to a better opportunity community that pays a lot better for the type of value that they bring to that company.